The east of Europe and the whole of Europe is heading towards a dangerous and uncertain stalemate. This is no longer just a game of chess, but a more dangerous game. It is obvious that there will be more losers than winners in this dangerous game, where strategy and courage are spoken. As the European neighbors prepared for a possible conflict, talks between Russia and Ukraine to avoid a military confrontation stalled. Behind the failed talks, both Russia and the North Atlantic Alliance with the USSR making very serious military shipments to the region. It is firmly accepted that the war will not only cover the Ukrainian border, and that it will affect the whole of Europe and even the world. No matter who wins at the end of the war, the Ukraine seen as the starting point of Russian. President Vladimir Putin, Soviet dream, will be the breaking point this week. Moves in Europe started from a very high level and reached the highest level of tension. The USA, England, and Russia take the lead role on the stage, putting forward their troops to fight at the front. The play, which was staged in Europe, started this week with a very high tension. The summary of this scene is the words of the Ukrainian leader. If there is a war here, it will not be our war. It will be a war that covers the whole of Europe. Emphasizes how critical the situation is in the statement made by EU's Department of Defense. It was stated that approximately 8,500 American soldiers are on high alert and ready to deploy in the region. At the same time, the front line in the region was strengthened on the side of the USA, with EU's sending 3,000 troops to Poland today. The Pentagon said 8,500 soldiers or US-based, and if this group is activated, they will become part of the NATO response force after the attacks on Ukraine. It was announced that the army of 3,000 people waiting in the region was deployed to Poland and was ready to intervene at any time. In addition, EU's government constantly keeps on the agenda the situation of sending 50,000 more soldiers to the Russian border by measuring the tension in the region. Britain, on the other hand, reinforces its guarantorship over Ukraine by sending at least as many soldiers as the United States. In addition to the 1,200 special forces, Navy soldiers that the UK sent the region in the past few days, attack helicopters and heavy war machines are the biggest indication of this support. These forces, added to the side of EU's troops, stand in front of Russia as a very serious power. Russia, on the other hand, is waiting on the Ukrainian border with its 130,000 soldiers. At the same time, Russia, which has deployed 30,000 soldiers to Belarus, thinks that the support from this region will provide great support in a war that may arise. It is clear that these units of troops and military equipment exceeds the combined strength of the North Atlantic Alliance. At the same time, Russia, having geographical advantages, could completely block the alliance's entry by encircling Ukraine. In addition to the very serious advantages of Russia, the alliance, which has increased its allies from the Baltic Sea, is also looking for answers to the moves that Russia can make. If 130,000 soldiers enter Ukraine on the orders of Russian President Vladimir Putin, this chaos will not only concern Ukraine. Russia, which will want to reincorporate dozens of countries that left the Soviet Union with the Soviet dream, may go to Eastern European countries if Russia, as the victor in the war that may break out the Russian army, will not stop its advance with this courage and strength and will openly threaten all of Eastern Europe. After this progress, the Black Sea will become a Russian lake, and Russia will be able to declare itself as the most powerful state on the world stage. Neither the US, nor the UK, nor the European Union can afford it at the moment. The conflict they will lose will not only defeat them, but also lead them to a newly established world order. In this world order, the economic power of the USA, the military structure of England, and the democratic structure of Europe will be completely destroyed. As we just mentioned, 8,500 soldiers of the US Army are waiting for orders to be sent. High alert level while US forces are strengthening the borders of Poland, Estonia, Moldova, Romania at the rear, and they're looking for what they are looking for: strategic nuclear missiles deployed by Russia with very rare WC-135 military aircraft. Military shipments to Poland and military technologies brought to these countries also allow the formation of a strong Eastern European bloc. The North Atlantic Alliance Response Force is a 40,000-strong multinational contingent of ground, air, naval, and special operations forces that the alliance can rapidly deploy wherever needed. The North Atlantic Alliance says its overall goal is to provide a swift military response to an emerging crisis, not activated yet. Putting American forces on hold would deter aggression and enhance the alliance's ability to defend allies and, if necessary, defeat aggression. Pentagon Press Secretary John F. Kirby said on Monday, already deployed in Europe. If enabled, Austin's command would enable the United States to rapidly deploy additional brigade combat teams as well as specialized units in logistics, aviation intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, transportation, and more, Kirby noted. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson said on Monday that Russia's invasion of Ukraine would have disastrous consequences for Russia. Intelligence is very clear that there are 60 Russian battle groups on the Ukrainian border. The Lightning War Plan that could destroy Kiev as a plan everyone should see. We need to make it clear to the Kremlin that this will be a disastrous step. He said thanks to the negotiations between the UK, the USA, and Russia, the tension has become non-conflict in the European Union has not yet sat on the table. Several European officials complained that the EU was being pushed aside during the discussions over Ukraine between US and Russian officials. Ukraine also complained that it was left out of the talks, which was a matter of focus and concern. It seems unlikely that the European Union will take an aggressive stance here, because the cracks in the European Union are rising and some European Union member countries are giving the signals that they can take side with Russia in this war. Countries like France, Germany, and Croatia took a more dovish stance towards Russia, while others in Eastern Europe are those that were part of the former Soviet Union, such as the Baltics, took a more hawkish stance. In addition, the EU strangely relies on Russia for the bulk of its gas supply, around 40%, meaning that Russia can use this resource to its advantage, especially during the winter months. It is known that Israel has taken a big step in this regard. Recently, a gas supply planned to Europe via Turkey, one of the critical countries of the North Atlantic Alliance for the region, is currently on the table and is being discussed. Germany in particular is in trouble because the yet-to-be-approved Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline will carry gas directly to Germany and is designed to increase Russia's gas supply to the continent. And another problem of the European Union is the questioning of allegiance to the North Atlantic Alliance. In particular, a group of countries led by France announced that the alliance is no longer valid and that the European Union should join its own army. This could mean that France and Germany do not want U.S. leadership in the North Atlantic Alliance and want to pave the way for Russia to change. That the weeks of crisis talks between Western officials and Russia follow high-profile discussions between U.S. President Joe Biden and his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin. The United States will send nearly 3,000 extra troops to Poland and Romania to shield Eastern Europe from a potential spillover from the crisis over the massing of Russian troops near Ukraine. U.S. officials said on Wednesday, Russia has denied plans to invade Ukraine, but signaled it was in no mood for compromise on Wednesday by mocking Britain, calling Prime Minister Boris Johnson utterly confused and accusing British politicians of stupidity and ignorance. A Stryker squadron of around 1,000 U.S. service members based in Vilseck, Germany, would be sent to Romania. The Pentagon said, while around 1,700 service members, mainly from the 82nd Airborne Division, would deploy from Fort Bragg, NC to Poland. 300 other service members will move from Fort Bragg to Germany. U.S. President Joe Biden said the deployment was consistent with what he had told Russian President Vladimir Putin. As long as he is acting aggressively, we're going to make sure we can reassure our NATO allies in Eastern Europe that we're there, he said, according to media reports on Twitter. The objective, Pentagon spokesperson John Kirby said, was to send a strong signal to Putin and, frankly, to the world that NATO matters to the United States and it matters to our allies. We know that Putin also bristles at NATO, about NATO. He's made no secret of that. We are making it clear that we're going to be prepared to defend our NATO allies if it comes to that. Hopefully, it won't come to that. Poland's Defense Minister Mariusz Blaszczak said the U.S. deployment was a strong sign of solidarity. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg also welcomed it, saying the alliance's response to Russia was defensive and proportional efforts to reach a diplomatic solution continue despite some Western countries describing Russia's main demands as non-starters in Moscow, showing no sign of withdrawing them. Biden and French President Emmanuel Macron discussed coordination of diplomatic efforts and plans to impose economic costs on Moscow should it invade Ukraine. The White House said. Macron said he was planning to talk to Putin soon. To Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan is set to visit his counterpart Volodymyr Zelensky in Ukraine on Thursday after pitching Turkey as a mediator to ease tensions with Russia. While German Chancellor Olaf Scholz said he would meet Putin in Moscow soon without giving a date. The Kremlin said Putin told Britain's Johnson that NATO was not responding adequately to its security concerns. Johnson's office said he had told Putin an incursion would be a tragic miscalculation, and they had agreed to apply a spirit of dialogue. Russia and President Putin were open to communicating with everyone. Peskov said even to someone who is utterly confused, Russia's foreign ministry mocked Johnson's foreign secretary, Liz Truss, for saying in an interview that Britain was supplying and offering extra support into our Baltic allies across the Black Sea, two bodies of water that are on opposite sides of Europe, as well as supplying Ukrainians with defensive weapons. The UK Foreign Office later said she was listing separate geographic areas of support. Mrs. Truss, your knowledge of history is nothing compared to your knowledge of geography. Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Maria Sarova wrote in a blog post, "If anyone needs saving from anything, it's the world from the stupidity and ignorance of British politicians."